Today's video is my review on Camp Lazlo, which premiered on July 8th, 2005 on Cartoon Network. It has been officially 20 years since Camp Lazlo first premiered. I was 5 years old at the time when this show came out, since I just graduated preschool and started kindergarten. So this show came out when I was a kindergartner. Camp Lazlo is definitely one of the most underrated Cartoon Network shows of the 2000s era. The show was created by Joe Murray, the same creator of Nickelodeon's Rocko's Modern Life and PBS's Let's Go Luna. During the show's run, it received 3 Primetime Emmy Awards, 3 Pulcinella Awards, and generally positive reviews from both critics and audiences. Camp Lazlo has also spawned spin-off media, including DVDs, restaurant promotions, flash games, and digital download releases. The show is about a Brazilian spider monkey named Lazlo, who attends a poorly run summer camp called Camp Kidney, located in the small town of Prickly Pines in Northport, Wisconsin. The little boys that attend Camp Kidney are collectively known as Bean Scouts. Despite all of the negatives at Camp Kidney, including lack of supplies, boredom, and rivalry with the Squirrel Scouts, which are the Girl Scouts of the show, Lazlo tries to look at the positive things about being at Camp Kidney. Let's take a look at the characters, starting off with the main character himself, Lazlo. Lazlo is the adventurous, optimistic, and quirky Brazilian spider monkey who is the cabin leader of Jelly Cabin. He is best friends with his cabin mates, Raj and Clam, who often hang out with each other and go on adventures. He is a very happy-go-lucky character, always trying to find ways to turn a negative situation into a positive situation. Because of this, he has often annoyed a few characters, such as Scoutmaster Lumpus and Edward. Despite some characters in the show not really liking him, Lazlo does deeply care about every character in the show and tries to help them in any way that he can. Lazlo loves peace and always looks on the bright side of any situation that occurs. Lazlo also has a really big fear of clowns, as seen in the episode Clown Camp, and who can blame him? I mean, I'm afraid of clowns myself. Horror movies and circuses are not really my cup of tea, so I can understand Lazlo's phobia. And I also give him props for staying positive when stupid crap happens. It's honestly a really good attitude to have. Raj, the agitated Indian elephants and Lazlo's best friend. He is cabin mates and friends with Lazlo and Clam. Now, unlike the other characters of the series, Raj was given an Indian accent in the show instead of the regular American accent. Joe Murray was given a choice to choose one character to have an accent. Although he considered Lazlo, he ultimately chose Raj, thinking it would suit him perfectly. I mean, hearing his Indian accent in the show kind of reminds you of Apu Nahaspi Mapelan from The Simpsons, which I thought was awesome. Raj is the most nervous, cowardly, and cautious of the characters. He has had a lot of problems in several episodes that he had to conquer and fix. Because of this, he is often considered the least favorite of the Jelly Cabin trio. Raj also has an addiction to marshmallows, as seen in the episode Marshmallow Jones. I mean, I love marshmallows, but I don't love them to death. Raj also has some rivalries with other characters of the show, such as Samson and Edward. Despite all of this though, Raj does enjoy summer camp as best he can, often sticking with his friends in their adventures. Clam, the short anthropomorphic white rhinoceros who is cabin mates and friends with Lazlo and Raj. Clam is the quiet character who rarely says more than a few words at a time and mostly repeats what other people have already said. Clam is seen as the strongest camper in Camp Kidney despite being very short. He is able to lift heavy objects with relative ease. He is also a smart, talented genius, as seen in the episode Prodigious Clamus, when he is able to solve a 1,000-piece puzzle in less than 10 seconds, as well as being able to play Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with just an empty soda bottle. Clam also has a crush on the alligator Squirrel Scout Gretchen. I honestly don't know why he has a crush on that dumb, grouchy, mean bully of an alligator, but he just does. Algonquin C. Lumpus, known as Scoutmaster Lumpus for short, is the short-tempered, stubborn, mean, bossy, grumpy, stingy moose who is pretty much always in a bad mood. One of the little things that actually brings Scoutmaster Lumpus joy is his attempt to spoil the other scouts' enjoyment. Packages sent to the campers from their homes are taken by him since he states that they are quote-unquote violating camp rules. After that, he simply just takes them for himself, using them for his own pleasure and enjoyment. He is also very immature since he plays with bath toys, is terrified of scary films, and is always complaining to his assistant, Mr. Slinkman. He also treats Slinkman poorly by never paying the poor slug, making him do all the hard work while he just goofs off all day. Despite Lumpus being a cold, mean, grumpy old hag, he does have a soft side since it is revealed in the series that he has a huge crush on the Scoutmaster of the Squirrel Scouts, Jane Doe. He tries many times to be nice to her, prove himself as a good Scoutmaster, and to get some alone time with her. He does eventually marry Jane Doe towards the end of the series, but it doesn't really last long since Lumpus is arrested in the series finale, being found out as an imposter. Now, I do have some opinions on the final episode of the series, but I'll talk about that later in the video. Slinkman, the yellow banana slug who is loyal, kind, and obedient. Because of Scoutmaster Lumpus's evil and lazy nature, he is basically the one that runs Camp Kidney. Now, although Slinkman is essentially in charge of Camp Kidney, he nevertheless reports to Scoutmaster Lumpus and frequently serves as his personal servant, always following his orders. There were also times where Slinkman stood up to Lumpus, such as in the episode Slugfest, when Lumpus refused to let him go on a weekend vacation. It was so funny seeing Slinkman snap and trash Lumpus's cabin. Slinkman and Lumpus then eventually reconcile, and Slinkman does decide to take Lumpus with him to Slugfest, making both of them happy. So even though Lumpus treats Slinkman like crap, he does deeply care about him. And to tell you the truth, Lumpus and Slinkman's relationship and personalities, they definitely remind me of Mr. Burns and Waylon Smithers from The Simpsons. Both Mr. Burns and Lumpus are evil bosses and love torturing others, and both Slinkman and Smithers are the assistants and best friends of the evil bosses from their respective series. Not to mention, they both respond to their evil bosses with the same exact phrase.
Yes, sir. Very good, sir.
Oh, it's their loss, sir.
It's just so funny how they made Lumpus and Slinkman very similar to Mr. Burns and Smithers. Edward, the resentful platypus that enjoys bullying and making fun of other people. He greatly despises Camp Kidney due to the lack of activities, supplies, and the lazy staff. Because of this, he has a great hatred and jealousy towards Lazlo, and often tries to compete with him on multiple occasions throughout the series. Now, the main reason Edward is like this is because he has 4 older brothers that pressure Edward into being the best since they were complete dictators and huge bullies when they went to Camp Kidney in the past. Despite his negative and rude nature, Edward does have a soft side. An example of this is in the episode Hello Dolly, when we find out that Edward secretly loves and plays with a doll called Veronica that his mother gave him for Christmas one year. But when the other Bean Scouts find the doll, he tries to deny it by angrily screaming that he will blow it up. Edward tries to deceive them with a doll made out of a pickle and a marshmallow head. Then Lazlo eventually realizes the truth, and that's when he stepped in and helped Edward protect his secret. Edward is also the youngest out of all of the characters in the show. We find this out in the episode Movie Night, when Edward is too young to see a movie called Mountain Zombies from Scab Lagoon. Yuck. Eventually though, his birthday does come around, and he does get to watch it. I should also mention that Edward is voiced by the legendary Doug Lawrence, who, as we all know, is the same person that provided the voice of the legendary Sheldon J. Plankton on SpongeBob. When you hear Edward speak, you will know it's Doug Lawrence. I mean, the first time I watched the show and I heard Edward's voice, I was like, hey, that's Plankton. And sure enough, when I looked up Edward's voice actor, I was like, yeah, it's Doug Lawrence, the same person that did Plankton. I mean, it's so funny that they both share the same personality, both being small, mean bullies, and crave for world domination. Chip and Skip, two dung beetles and Edward's cabin mates. They love being filthy, and they are both known as the idiotic characters of the show. We find out in the Dirt Nappers episode that the reason that they are always filthy is because if they have no dirt on them, they will fall asleep for an entire century. Now, despite some shows like SpongeBob and the Fairly OddParents completely flanderizing their idiotic characters like Patrick and Cosmo respectively, Chip and Skip were not flanderized since Camp Lazlo ended after 4 years. In fact, Chip and Skip are really funny, idiotic characters. Chip and Skip are seen as Edward's main friends, since Edward has trouble hanging out with other people. Even though Edward can't stand Chip and Skip most of the time, he does deeply love them. In the Waiting for Edward episode, when Edward ties Chip and Skip to a tree upside down, which leads to Chip and Skip becoming smart, Edward eventually realizes that having Chip and Skip's stupidity makes him look smart. So Edward does go back to the tree, and Chip and Skip return to their normal stupid selves. So yeah, even though Edward doesn't like the antics of Chip and Skip, he does think of them as his closest friends, and he does deeply care about them. Samson Clogmire, known as Samson for short, is an accident-prone, geeky, clean freak, and unlucky guinea pig. He is known as the Camp Wimp and is frequently pushed around and harassed by the other campers, particularly Edward. In the Camp Kidney Stinks episode, we find out the reason Samson is a clean freak is because he has a very sensitive nose. Because of this, Samson can't stand stinky smells, and he will go to great lengths to protect his nose by making sure that his environment is clean. He is often unnoticed and ignored by everybody, and has a really hard time making friends. I'm sure a lot of people can feel bad for this guy. I mean, being ignored, unnoticed, and bullied is really hard to deal with. Being alone is one of the saddest things in life. In the Camp Samson episode, when he tries to make everyone remember him, he only ends up making things worse. He eventually makes things right, however, when it's revealed that he is the only one that's able to sneak into Chef McMuesli's junk food vault, earning his fellow campers' respect. And let's not forget what happened in the Hard Day Samson episode when Samson was stalked by all of the Squirrel Scouts, all because he looked like a generous and gorgeous celebrity on a freaking magazine. You guys remember that episode? That episode was funny as hell. I mean, Samson at first was uncomfortable by the fact that the girls were stalking him. But then, towards the end, before Raj and Clam turned the tables on Edward for ratting Samson out, Samson did get used to the attention that he received from the Squirrel Scouts. So yeah, it's okay to have friends and it's okay to get attention, but getting too much attention is definitely uncomfortable, and getting no attention can make you feel lonely. So just keep that in mind. Then there were the other characters. Dave and Ping Pong, two loons who are Samson's cabin mates that run the camp newspaper, The Weekly Bean. Patsy Smiles, the lively, pretty, and adventurous mongoose who has a huge crush on Lazlo. Out of all of the Squirrel Scout characters in the show, she is the most prominent and reoccurring character. At times, she is tomboyish and competitive, however, she is also frequently kind and compassionate. Patsy has had a crush on Lazlo since the beginning of the series, and in frequent episodes, she tries to take advantage of certain situations in order to be alone with Lazlo and express her love to him. This at times made Lazlo uncomfortable, however, it is shown that Lazlo does deeply trust and care about Patsy. In other episodes, she tries to help Lazlo out as much as she can. Like in the finale episode of Season 2, Hello Summer, Goodbye Camp, she tries to help Lazlo, Raj, and Clam save Camp Kidney from getting shut down, since she didn't want Lazlo to move away, which would cause her to likely never see him again. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that episode because when you, a family member, or best friend move away, moving away is not easy because you have to worry about leaving your best friends and family behind, of course adjusting to a new environment, trying to make new friends, and all of that other stuff. And I'm pretty sure all of you that were growing up probably didn't want to move away. You guys were probably like that growing up, you know? So yeah, it was great to see Patsy help out Lazlo and the others try to prevent the camp from getting shut down. I don't know what it was, but for some reason, I had a crush on Patsy when I was a kid. I think it's due to the fact that I thought that she was so cute and hot. Also, she is really helpful and she does show sympathy for the Bean Scouts in several episodes. I also love the fact that Patsy's voice actress is the legendary Jodie Benson. Yes, the same Jodie Benson that did the voice of Ariel on The Little Mermaid, Barbie in Toy Stories 2 and 3, Lady in Lady and the Tramp 2, and various other Disney characters. Not only did Jodie Benson provide the voice of Patsy, but I think she also provided the voice of Jane Doe, and I think the Owl Squirrel Scout Almondine as well. So yeah, she as well as Jill Tolley did a majority of the Squirrel Scouts in the show. Nina Necroley, the kind, friendly, and intelligent giraffe who enjoys spending time reading and viewing science fiction and sci-fi books. Much like Patsy, she is very nice to the Bean Scouts, and in several episodes such as The Nothing Club and Burpless Bean, she hangs out with Lazlo and offers him kindly advice. Gretchen. Oh god, Gretchen. The dumb, grouchy, mean alligator, mainly taunting and bullying others. That alligator scares me. Especially with that evil smile. I mean, she does care about others at times, and I do like her normal smile, but when she bends her eyebrows down and grins while gritting her teeth, so scary! Lock her up and throw away the key. Jane Doe, the girly scoutmaster of the Squirrel Scouts at Acorn Flats, who is very kind and friendly and has a positive motherly attitude. Miss Rubella Mucus. This warthog was so annoying! Such an annoying fat bitch. I could never stand Miss Mucus. Much like Slinkman being Lumpus's assistant, Miss Mucus is basically Jane Doe's assistant that hates the Bean Scouts with so much passion. I couldn't stand this jerk. Miss Mucus purposely tried to get Camp Kidney shut down. She stole all of the Bean Scouts' toys, and even went as far as having no problem beating up the Bean Scouts. She also constantly pelts watermelons at the Bean Scouts whenever they come into Acorn Flats, whether if it was just for an event or if Lumpus just wanted to talk to Jane Doe. Because of all of this, I can pretty much conclude that Miss Mucus is the main reason why the Squirrel Scouts are so mean to the Bean Scouts. Even though some of the blame should also go to Gretchen, because I've noticed that whenever Gretchen or Miss Mucus are not in an episode that has the Squirrel Scouts are actually nice. But when Gretchen or Miss Mucus are present, the Squirrel Scouts are so mean. I honestly feel like she is misandrist in general. I feel like she hates men and is a very tomboyish, lazy, fat a-hole. I honestly don't know why Jane Doe has not replaced her. She is so flippin' mean. Miss Rubella Mucus, there's a reason why your last name is Mucus, because you are a pile of mucus for the way you treat the Bean Scouts. She is such a piece of shit. Chef McMuesli, the vegetarian head chef at the Camp Kitty Mess Hall, who is all about eating healthy. Nurse Leslie, the unhappy nurse of Camp Kidney that never leaves his chair, making sure that everyone is healthy and poorly treats the campers' wounds. And lastly, Commander Hoo-Ha, the strict bison that oversees the operations of Camp Kidney and Acorn Flats. During its run, Camp Lazlo had lots of cool flash games like Squirreled Away and Paint Can't Panic. Anybody remember the Camp Lazlo Leaky Lake Games video game? I have this game. Camp Lazlo ran for 5 seasons, from July 8th, 2005, and came to an end on March 27th, 2008. Camp Lazlo ended up getting cancelled. Why? Well, it's actually an interesting story. Back in 2007, Cartoon Network started marketing their shows in McDonald's commercials called Cartoon Network What Can You Create? And they basically asked the creator of Camp Lazlo, Joe Murray, to appear in the commercial to help advertise his show and other Cartoon Network shows. Joe Murray refused to appear in the commercial and Camp Lazlo became a marketing disaster. Cartoon Network was not happy and decided to cancel the show in 2007, but they allowed Joe Murray and the Camp Lazlo crew to finish production for seasons 4 and 5. Camp Lazlo finished production in November 2007. So this is why the show was canceled. So it looks like had Joe Murray accepted the advertising proposal and the marketing was much better, Camp Lazlo would have likely continued for more episodes, a few more seasons, and a proper ending. That's too bad. The actual series finale was, Lumpus' Last Stand, where we find out that Scoutmaster Lumpus is actually not the Scoutmaster, and it's revealed that the actual Scoutmaster was a shaved version of Heifer from Joe Murray's Nickelodeon Nicktoon, Rocko's Modern Life. Lumpus is arrested, and the series ends. Honestly, I feel like this was a last-second decision or something, because we have seen in many episodes that both Slinkman and Lumpus were actually younger with hair. So I don't know what the heck they were trying to go for when doing this finale. Why not say that the actual Scoutmaster was locked in the closet for years instead of the entire summer? That would have definitely made more sense, especially if the closet had food and water. After the series cancellation, reruns continued to air on Cartoon Network until March 1st, 2014. Then it moved over to Boomerang, where it was remastered in full HD for reruns from June 2017 until August 1st, 2022. And after that, Camp Lazlo has not been on Boomerang since. So it's no longer on television. I checked to see if there were any episodes on Max, and unfortunately not, especially since Cartoon Network is part of Warner Bros. Discovery. You know, budget cuts, cancellations, and blah blah blah. So obviously, Camp Lazlo is on the internet somewhere. I'll put a link in the description where you can watch the series in full HD. Now, a lot of people have said that Camp Lazlo was the Cartoon Network version of SpongeBob SquarePants. And I can definitely agree with them on that, since most of the cast is pretty much the same cast that was on SpongeBob, like Tom Kenny, Doug Lawrence, and Jill Tolley. And also, Camp Lazlo did use a lot of the same exact music that was on SpongeBob. The Like Strange theme played in a few episodes. Not to mention that Joe Murray, the creator of Camp Lazlo, and Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, knew each other. I mean, they both worked together on Rocko's Modern Life. So I guess, in a way, Rocko pretty much helped spark the creativity in Hillenburg and Murray. Even though I really loved Camp Lazlo, I feel like the show did start going downhill starting in, I think, towards the end of Season 3. But I think that the episodes get a lot more lazy in Seasons 4 and 5. Some episodes are disgusting, stupid, and terrible. Not to mention, I feel like Lazlo and Patsy's love for each other, I just felt like it wasn't there anymore in the later seasons. I mean, I know that they still love each other, but the love just isn't there like it was in the earlier seasons. Like when Lazlo and Patsy, like the episode where Lazlo brings a snake from the woods back into his cabin, but then it accidentally gets loose, so Patsy tries to help Lazlo find it, claiming she knows Kung Fu, Jiu-Jitsu, and Bok Choy. But then we come to find out towards the end of the episode that Patsy pretty much made the whole thing up just to impress Lazlo. You know, that kind of love. Like, what the heck happened to that kind of love between the two of them in the later seasons? So, I'm guessing after Cartoon Network announced that they were canceling the show, I feel like the writers just sped it up and didn't even bother to check their work of the later episodes to try to improve them and make them better. Despite all of that though, I still think that this is a really good show. It is a show that is underrated and should definitely be rewatched, especially in the summertime. Well, this has been my review on Camp Lazlo. You guys can tell me your thoughts on the show. What did you think of the series in general? Do you think the series was bad in seasons 4 and 5? And do you think that these last 2 seasons could have been improved? Did you like watching the show when it was relevant? Some of you guys probably weren't even born yet. Did you like the characters? And you can also tell me your favorite episodes and your least favorite episodes. Okay, that's it. See you later, everybody.